Alright, so now we're back to the video. I've already went over the scriptures on scarification and what it meant to make cuttings in your flesh for the dead as opposed to having earrings or nose rings. And shout out to this brother out at sea. He also showed that he had a certain level of understanding, so good for him. So let's continue on here. Gregory Jackson says she paid to go abroad temporarily when she could have moved to another city or stayed permanently. I smell bullshit. Well, you know what? I'm not going to knock her hustle. If there's enough silly women that want to pay her money for that bullshit, hey, good for her and good for them. Kairos87 says she wants a break from white people. I am sure she does break in Caribbean, meaning also connotes sperm. So I agree that's what they really want. The Caribbean following right after this nonsense because of political and economic linkages, indoctrination in full tilt. Absolutely. The westernization of the Caribbean world, Central America, South America, and parts of Africa and a lot of these other indigenous lands or lands that are populated mostly by indigenous or aboriginal people, that's been in effect for the last 30 years. All right. Most of these females are liberal no matter where you go now. Angel Ortiz says, hi, I hope your day and time is a great time. I just started to watch Insecure. I love to. LOL. I was in the hospital when this came out, so I missed the story. Loving to catch up. Yeah, I'm going to get back to that Insecure series very soon. Might even roll it out with this batch of videos. Who knows? Doc Central said, I think these women are low-key drinking wine, etc. off camera at this resort. I'm sure that they are. I'm sure that wine is a heavy part of this of this so-called retreat. Baltic C23 said, I bet the natives of this island fled after hearing these loonies go on and on about their oppression. No, they don't have to go anywhere because most of these broads, they don't have enough money to stay. They got to go back to their miserable life and their miserable job. But you know, it's so funny to me. Some of these women, they complain about their job, but they're the ones that want to go out there and work and empower themselves. And that's really why they're miserable. Because they don't want the man to have the job, because if he has the job, then he has the control. So they have to go get jobs so that a man can't tell them what to do. But the job is making them miserable. So they're basically caught in a catch-22. Dub ATL says, I had to get real with my baby moms and explain how she needed to reprogram. She wanted to be with me so bad. She be trying, but I got to spend some energy opening her eyes up. I can't get full custody. Well, that's normally how it goes, bro. I don't know about that baby mama drama stuff, but a lot of you brothers that deal with that, you have to just do your best, because the woman is always trying to break the man down to do what they want the man to do, as opposed to understand that the man has to stipulate the energy in the relationship. The man has to do that. All right. Rio Oliver says, you are really for the black man community. 100% illumination. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. But the main thing is to put the Most High first and not to worship any man. And damn sure don't worship a woman. William Howell said these broads would have been better off flying in some studs. Who knows? Maybe they are the studs. He says, I have no sympathy for these defective individuals. Bro, they're about to hop, skip, and a jump away from being the studs they damn self. Believe me. Saba Square says, not sure what you're talking about, but this whole thing is a reaction to racism and feeling like a minority, and women double disenfranchisement in a country where your ancestors were brought as slaves, brutalized, and disenfranchised. Most other groups have no idea how that feels. Whilst I don't agree fully with it, but I feel the pain in the retreat leader's face and voice. She has clearly experienced some serious racism. Africans can't relate fully, as we just returned to our parent birth nation. But if you're African American, you have lost that. Ironically, it will be the racists this will enrage most, who, to be honest, should be happy. But nope, They will get mad because it's not about them. Well, here's my thing with a lot of what you're stating. The term minority is something that you accept. It's not something that you are. When you allow another so-called race to call you a minority, what you're allowing them to do is to marginalize you and to make you believe that you're insignificant. Right? When you're a minor, that's a term that's used for a child, right? So when you accept that term minority, that's like you accepting that you're less than, or that you don't deserve to have authority over your own life. So when you accept these terms, then that's for the most part why our people have a lot of these issues in regards to their self-image and their self-esteem. Self-esteem is something for the most part that you're born with, but it has to be cultivated by your parents and your family. By the time you're an adult, if you have low self-esteem, that's pretty much not going to change. And for you brothers out there dealing with a woman with low self-esteem, you better head for the hills, man, because that's not even concubine material. A woman that has low self-esteem, all she's going to do is bring chaos and bring it incrementally. So you better head for the hills if you're dealing with a chick that has low self-esteem. That's not a good thing. But when people talk about the pain on certain people's faces, a lot of our people are in pain, but they're in pain because they keep searching after some level of validation from the Caucasian. And they feel frustrated because they've embraced Luciferian ideologies that are not going to benefit them, that are not going to come to fruition. And it's killing them inside. It's killing them that they're dealing with these issues that they know deep down are never going to be resolved. So if our people learn to let go of that, they'll be much better off. But you can't teach somebody else how to be happy. NCDA said this is the Wear My White Zodiac convention. Maybe it is. Who knows? Like I say, most of these broads, if they had a white man sweep them off their feet, you never hear them talk about racism again. William Wall says, you go out to Honduras, you might not come back. Honduras is one of the most unstable, violent countries. Well, don't tell them that. That's why I say leave the liberal black woman alone. She's going to twist her head around 360 degrees like an ostrich, trying to find a way to not have to be under the authority of the black man. Let her exhaust all her options so that when she comes back humbly. But most of these women not going to make it, man. It's okay. Leave it alone. Crypto Gang says, subbed, liking the content and commentary. Also, your voice and accent reminds me of Mekhi Phifer. Stay true, bro. Well, Mekhi Phifer, he's from the Uptown area. Lax Lubega stated, you name drop Uganda. Hey, my guy, your vids are informative and very entertaining. Bless up, keep it coming. NMBMB says, cringe makes me uncomfortable, but you write about other non-American blacks, not always talking about race, this, race, that, gender this, gender that. They have their own culture, values that wasn't built by feminism. Brothers, there's nothing proactive, there's nothing productive that's going to come from Luciferianism. Luciferianism is based on destruction. First they destroy your culture, then they destroy your soul. Okay? That's what Luciferianism is about. Once you destroy the order, then you could bring in a new order. That's why the credo is order out of chaos. Right? That's why that's the credo. Because they break you down. That's why, once again, that's why all these women are so miserable, because they've embraced Luciferianism. Feminism is a Luciferian doctrine. And like I tell you brothers all the time, they talk all this wokety woke pro-black shit, but in all reality, they're pro-homosexual, pro-lesbian, pro-transgender. I guarantee you, most of these broads at this retreat, that's what they are. Let's see. James Landy, he quoted me. He said, you can't get somebody because you're a piece of shit. Hey, brothers, look, that's harsh. I know it, but it's the truth. There's so-called black women out here, 400 pounds, 450 pounds, walk down the street with a chicken bone stuck in between their teeth, and they have a husband. So don't tell me that that you don't have a man because you're dark skinned. It's not that your skin is dark, it's that your heart is dark. That's why you don't have a man. Or maybe you just have not been fortunate enough to meet a decent man. But this nonsense about that, a lot of these black women talk about, oh, well, you know, black men are not choosing us because they want women who are of another race, and they want light-skinned women, and they want this. Stop. There's so-called dark-skinned black women. There's so-called dark-skinned black men. There's so-called light-skinned black women. There's so-called light-skinned black men who all have significant others. For the most part, it's a personality and it's a spiritual issue. If you don't have a man, if you don't have a woman, you have to work on yourself. That's if you want one, right? Maybe you're not ready to have one. Who knows? But if you're ready to have one and you don't, it's probably because the Most High don't want one for you yet, or you're not a good enough person to have one yet. Women of color healing. This is probably the woman in the video. She says, normally we would not take the time to even reply to something so ignorant, but because this nonsense is coming from a black person, we had to. This is exactly something a coon would do to an uplifting black space. Well, how can a black space be uplifting? You can't see what's going on in a black space because there's no light. That's why I said in the video, you're blacked out of your mind. And I say that with all due respect, sister. But you shouldn't even be speaking to me. You should be speaking to your man. If what you're doing is on the up and up, don't worry about what I'm talking about. Because the only way for us to alleviate these issues is, number one, for the so-called black man to turn back to the Most High. And number two, for the so-called black woman to understand that the black man is her head. And that's not going to happen in this society. So I have to say certain things to the so-called black man to prep him mentally. That's what my channel's about. My channel's not about the gender war. I don't go back and forth or go to war with women. That's nonsense. She says, not one woman in this video said that they identified as a liberal nor feminist, yet as a black man you tried to speak for an entire group of women. This video shows exactly what anti-blackness and anti-black woman actually is. The fact that you would take what you see in the media for verbatim shows how much of a slave and coon you actually are. Well, sis, it's your responsibility as a business owner to make sure that you moderate exactly what's projected by the media. You're trying to blame the media for the images that were projected, but you just told me that there were no so-called black women who were liberal or feminists at all. So why are you worried about how you were projected? All I can go by is the energy that I understand you're emitting. There's not going to be any victory for the so-called black woman without the black man leading. Without the so-called black man leading. You can get upset about that if you want to. That's what this video is about. Nobody has ever heard me state that the so-called black woman is irrelevant or unnecessary or evil per se. Or anything like that. But the so-called black man has to be the head. And 2 weeks at a resort in Costa Rica, that's not going to help anybody. But, you know, I mean, there's no disrespect. You're not a solution-oriented thinker, so I don't expect you to grasp that. But the so-called black man has to grasp this. That's who my channel is geared towards. It's not about going back and forth with any woman. But I expect people to get offended. And in regards to me being anti-blackness or anti-black woman, that's not possible because there's no such race as black. There's no such thing as a black woman. Black is not a race. It's not a culture. It's not a history. It's not anything. All black is a color. So as long as black is what you're trying to use as a line of demarcation, all what you're doing is a hustle. That's it. And you're upset because I spoke on it. And it's okay. I'm sure that it's not going to hurt your business. There are a lot of miserable black women out there who are going to go to your resort for 2 weeks and, you know, light some incense and probably smoke some weed and drink some wine and talk shit about white people for 2 weeks. And that'll be that. But in regards to solutions, I got to speak to the so-called black man on that. Let me see here. Your hate for black women also runs deep, and I'm sure stems from childhood issues. At the end of the day, we feel you are our brother, no matter how deep your struggle with internalized racism is. May you heal. The fact that you would take what you see in the media for verbatim shows how much of a slave and coon you actually are. Well, miss, if you feel like you got misrepresented by the media, then who's the real slave here? You're the one who allowed your company to be misrepresented. If you feel like if somebody who took what was presented as verbatim is doing so with some level of malintent, you're the one who's supposed to be in control over how your company is presented. The fact of the matter is that you're trying to use so-called pro-blackness to make money for yourself. That's the fact of the matter. You can get upset. You can say coon this and coon that. Here's what I know. I know none of you pro-blacks have a plan. None of you. And the fact of the matter is that if you was really as so-called pro-black as you claim, your husband or whoever your man is should have been on television and not you. Or you and him should have been sitting together. You're upset by the assertions and the observations that I made in regards to you trying to put the so-called black female on camera as a victim, and you trying to use, because that's all you're doing, you're really just pimping out a lot of these depressed, low self-esteem having black women from America. You're trying to take their money because they have all the jobs. And you said to yourself, I'm a miserable black woman. I know that these other black women are miserable. So I'm going to have them come down here and spend all their money. That's the bottom line to that. And if you sisters really want to heal, that starts with understanding that the man is the head. And the man has to understand that he's the head. And it's not going to be resolved by running down to Costa Rica. She says, your hate for black women also runs deep and I'm sure stems from childhood issues. Well, it's very difficult to hate something that doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a black woman. So I can't hate black women. I think that I think that a lot of so-called black women would like black men to hate them because it would feed into their victimization mentality. It would feed into their everyone is against us mentality. And the fact of the matter is that there are very few demographics that have been assisted and helped in America more than the so-called black woman. I mean, it's quite the contrary to what a lot of super liberal black females would like to project. They like to project this energy that the black woman is public enemy number one. Everybody's out to get us. The fact of the matter is that you guys are not a threat to anybody. The number one entity that the so-called black woman is a threat to, if we really want to go there, the number one entity that the so-called black woman is a threat to is her fetus. Because there have been 15 million abortions over the last 45 years. Those are the facts. So if we're really talking about black genocide, let's start with the abortion rates. Let's start with what the queens have done to these black fetuses, so-called black fetuses. And they're not going to Costa Rica to have these abortions. They're doing them here. Right? So it is what it is. It'll be better off. I would hope that when those women come to your resort for 2 weeks, that you tell them the importance of that fetus and of that child, to not abort it if they get pregnant, and to not allow themselves to be impregnated if they're not ready to have a baby. But you know what? I don't even forward any messages to the woman like that. My messages are always to the man. You brothers should not be inseminating a woman until you're ready and until you've been with a woman for years and you know what she's about to the best of your ability. Because I don't put the onus on a woman to make good decisions. She says, at the end of the day, we feel you are our brother, no matter how deep your struggle with internalized racism is. May you heal. Well, with all due respect, sister, it don't matter to me how you feel. All that should matter to you is how your husband feels. Because supposedly, according to Ken Baker, you have a husband. So if you're married, you should be concerned about how your husband feels, not about how I feel, because I don't give a shit one way or the other. When I make these videos, my videos are meant to speak to the so-called black man. Why is that? Not because I hate the black woman. It's because the man is the head. You speak to the head. There's a great scene in the Jaden Smith version of The Karate Kid where he alienated his friend, the little Chinese girl. And in order to get back in her good graces, he goes to her house, he knocks on the door, and she answers, and he says, I want to speak to your father. And he had to apologize to the father for how he had disrespected the family. She had a violin recital. I might do a video about that scene because it's very important. Jaden Smith had to speak to her father in order to get back in her good graces. And in this society, our people don't understand that. The so-called black woman doesn't grasp that. She doesn't grasp the chain of command. They try to act like they do. And in the process of trying to reinstate the chain of command, the woman's going to use all type of tactics. You hate black people, you're a coon, you hate black women. See, all that shit don't affect me because I don't give a fuck, brothers. I don't care about how people feel about their own little emotions when you're addressing their Luciferian ideologies, because this person here is a Luciferian. She's trying to act like she's not, but she is. Okay? Dealing with all type of different demons. And when you speak in the truth, people are going to get offended. It is what it is. It's nothing personal. But at the end of the day, the man has to be the face of whatever you're doing, or he has to be working alongside with the woman. This feature on Vice should have been the man and her, not just her there. Because what they were trying to do is they were trying to make it look like black women were standing up to racism as opposed to what it really was. At least allegedly what it really was, because according to her and the simp that was in the comment section, Ken Baker, she's working in concert with her husband. So then how come they were both not on camera? And at the end of the day, the only way to resolve these issues is for us to work together. Right? Like in the movie Gladiator. Remember that first scene in the Roman Colosseum? Maximus tells the other gladiators, he says, we'll have a better chance of surviving this if we work together. That's it. He says, at the end of the day, we feel you are our brother. No matter how deep your struggle with internalized racism is, may you heal. Well, sis, with all due respect, I'm not the one who ran to another country. So I think that you might be the one who's dealing with a lot of your struggle with, quote unquote, internalized racism. You're the one that ran to Costa Rica, a country that's even whiter than America. So I don't have to run anywhere because my healing comes from within. I don't have to go to another environment like a coward does. D-Man Dice says, women of color healing retreats. If you can't see that the black man and black woman have serious issues in this country, then you are blind. And running away to a white man's island is in no way going to even remotely help. D-Man Dice, I agree with you. Thank you, bro. Simple as that. Post Dem says they seem so lost mentally and spiritually. They are lost because the man is the head. All right? That's why, brothers, once again, we got to get our shit in order so that we can lead the woman, man. It's the bottom line of it. This is not anything deep or complex. Mike German Chocolate says, whoever is talking on this video says the lady speaking on how Nebraska is too segregated and wants to be away from certain people. Maybe she is saying the segregation in a country that promotes equality isn't meeting the standard. Well, here's the issue, bro. I don't know if you're a so-called black man or not, but if her issue is that a country that promotes equality isn't meeting the standard, then why would her solution be to go to another country to be away from white people? If you don't like segregation, then you go to another location in America that's more integrated. Why would you leave America to go to an all-black female retreat because you don't like segregation? You understand that, sir? She can go, I stated it in the video, she could go to New York, she can go to San Francisco, she can go to LA, she can go to Atlanta, she can go to all type of places, Miami, all type of places all across America, Boston, where she could find a white boy that'll give her some pink dick. And she can go to sleep with a smile on her face. So it's not, nothing that she's saying makes any sense. Okay, I responded to this guy. I said she states that she wants white people to leave her alone. You can't want that and then complain about segregation. Clearly she's mad that she can't get a man that can tolerate her insanity. I agree with you. I agree with you, Chronicles. Oh, man. This person here, Asterisk, says, funny how a man has got so much to say about women. No, I really don't have a lot to say about women. I have a lot to say to the so-called black man. If the topic happens to be women, then that's what it happens to be. If the topic happens to be history, then that's what it happens to be. If it happens to be the Bible, that's what it happens to be. I have a lot to say to them. Whatever the topic is, it is what it is. If you don't like it, plenty of other channels out there for you. Have a nice day. Andre Eli says, at 9:34, that's the biggest issue most liberal women, specifically black women, hate. I don't know what I said at 9:34, but I guess it was good. Glorious Triumph says, laughing my ass off, Bay just needs some rod, clear her mind straight up. Absolutely. That's all it's about. Too much built up frustration. She can't think straight. I agree. She gets some man that want to take her out to eat and have a real conversation with her. Help her bust a few nuts. Should be ready to head right back out there into the white man's world. Luke 12:51. Good scripture. Luke 12:51 says, do something with yourself. Portion of the video had me in tears. Somebody give them a hug already. I agree with you, brother. That's what they need. They need a hug and some rod. Galatians 6:7 says, I agree with her. At some point, America is a prison full of hypocrisy. And yes, there's racism in America. And those who deny that are delusional and living in a bubble. Right, but no disrespect, Galatians 6 and 7. But if you say, okay, America's racist, then what? What's step number 2? Just keep saying it? Because that's what most of you pro-blackity blacks say. And just because you have a biblical screen name, a lot of you, I'm going to say this, a good portion of cats in the knowledge a number of pro-blackity blacks with Bibles. And that's what stops them from being able to understand things on a higher level. Right? A lot of you guys are too emotional. Right? Of course, there's a lot of wonderfully astute and intelligent brothers, but there's a good portion of cats that are pro-blackity blacks with Bibles. Yellow Synth is saying some are even becoming lesbians. Of course they are. Ashley Chase says women are like children. Why would you, as a man, want to go back and forth with a child? I agree. Huey Khalid X. Oh my God. Huey Khalid X. He says, Chronicles of Judah, do you consider yourself to be conservative, quote unquote? I consider myself neither liberal nor conservative, by the way. I notice you keep on castigating the liberal. Black Vitro replied to him, says he does not subscribe to the left versus right dichotomy. However, because white liberalism targets the so-called black woman, he views it as an adversary worth dealing with. That basically sums it up. Thank you, Black Vitro. That basically sums it up right there. Let's see. William Walsh says, at 2235, says, now you don't want to go to Chad. That country is one of the worst economically. Plus, it is radically Islamic. Well, according to the so-called black woman here in America, she gets so mistreated. Supposedly, she's so oppressed. I say this all the time. These women in America who claim that they're being oppressed, take your ass to some of these other countries and watch what happens to you. All right. Go to some of these countries in the Middle East or in the motherland. That's how you know they're full of shit. They talk all that motherland, Africa shit. Go live in some of these countries and do some of the shit that you try to do here or that you're doing here, and see what happened to you. Good luck with that. Thomas Valuable said, wait, did she say being black is her strength while wearing weave in her braids? Wearing weave is not black, it's European to wear weaves. Ask Lauryn Hill that thing. Well, you know what, brother? The so-called black woman is not going to let, or the liberal black woman is not going to let a little thing like facts get in the way of attention mongering. They're not going to do that. So, I mean, it is what it is. But Most of them are just very, very confused. You can see it. And it's really about the black man. All this stuff is not about racism. It's about the black man. And that's why I tell you, brothers, this. That's why I made this series. This is not about racism. It's about the black man. They're not running from racism. They're running from the authority of the black man. And you know why they're running from the authority of the black man? Because the authority of the black man doesn't exist. So they're trying to find somewhere where they're going to feel comfortable getting under the authority of a certain man. Because they don't respect a lot of you brothers, man. Because a lot of us don't know up from down. A lot of brothers, I'm gonna be honest with you, can't leave flies to shit. A lot of brothers have their head up their mother's ass. A lot of brothers make bad decisions, having children with the wrong women, trying to initiate relationships at the wrong time, serious relationships. This is why this so-called black woman don't trust. Right? That's why she doesn't trust. That's why she don't trust you. And that's why she's trying to run to these different areas. Now, how valid a lot of that is, that's another discussion. A lot of it is relatively valid. But there are also brothers out here who are upstanding, and they're dealing with the same issues because of the cultural paradigm shift, the quote-unquote cultural paradigm shift in the so-called black community, where it's dominated by the woman. So it's going to take a traumatic event to shift it back over to the man. But first, the man has to be prepped. Brothers have to be prepped. That's the point. Albert Kevin says Costa Rica men will embrace them. The Costa Rica men will embrace them. Well, yeah, they'll embrace them. But it's not really a matter of whether the men will embrace women, because women are pretty much just looked at as helpmeets all across the world. It's a matter of will the women who try to transplant to another area, because these women are only going to be there for a short time. But for women who try to transplant to another area, are they going to be willing to conform to the cultural mores of that new area? Ken Baker's back. Ken the Simp Baker. He's back. He said, nobody attacks the beast, only its liberal victims. Just like KB's white males who see every wrong in society and blame it on black men. Ken Baker, you know what your problem is, bro? You know what your problem is, bro? You need a spiritual sex change. You're a woman trapped in a man's body. That's why you're so frustrated. All right? You need to go get that spiritual sex change. Untwist them locks. Take off that V-neck, the shiki, and get rid of them damn sandals with the toes out. You know, and learn something about manhood, man. That's the real problem. A lot of these guys, they had no man in the household to teach them anything. So they just get frustrated by everything. And they think it's about so-called black and white. See, once you fall into that black versus white paradigm, you're never going to get out of that rabbit hole. And I'm not saying to not understand racism and its components. But once you go into the color aspect, all you're doing when you do that is that you're acknowledging that you're a corporate whore. That's it. You're just a corporate whore when you're doing all that black-white shit. I'm black and you're white, and I just came from slaves, and you've been an oppressor for 400 years, and all that shit is narrative, bro. It's historical narrative. And as long as you believe that all you did was come from slaves, you're never going to be able to think clearly. And there's a lot of cats out here that try to push the slave narrative on both sides, both so-called black and so-called Caucasian. A lot of these guys, so-called pro-blacks who like to push the slave narrative, they think that they're so woke. And you have to understand that that yes, a lot of our people came from slavery. A lot of our people were also freed men. A lot of our people were in America in various capacities. And you have to understand what that term black means. All it is a corporate title. You're not a human being when you call yourself black. Less Confused says most black people are not in their right minds. Most black people, period, are not in their right minds. I agree. Oh, I responded. I said that. I said, I agree. It's true. Tim Young says, the Bible is very entertaining, but Jesus, God, is not real. But I'm cool with religion because it controls the masses. Well, you know, the problem with people like yourself, Tim Young, I don't know if you're so-called black or so-called Caucasian. For the sake of the conversation, I'll say that you're probably a so-called Afrocentric black man or nihilist, Luciferian black man or what have you. The problem with a lot of you cats is that you don't really do any research. And what I find with most atheists is that they're not that they don't believe in God, it's that they're upset with God about something. Their dog died. Their dog got hit by a truck when they were 7 years old. Or their dad died. You know, their dad got shot or some shit like that. Or died in Iraq when they were 6 and they're still mad at God about it. So now they don't believe in God, and religion is used to control the masses. Now, religion is narrative. There's narrative and there's reality. And I don't want to digress too much because most people don't understand what religion is. Religion is man's attempt to remember certain historical events that occurred. So when you participate in a ritual in a certain religion, it's meant to commemorate someone from an ancient time or in the ancient world who was able to perform a great deed or a great act. And that's how they get remembered. That's what religion is. Now, there's a separation between the Bible and religion, but a lot of that's based off of belief. Certain people say, well, I don't believe in the creationist story or things of that nature. The world wasn't created in 7 days. The Bible doesn't say that the world was created in 7 days. That term day is not literal. You understand? There are certain terms that you have to get an understanding of that you might not if you just read it in English. But that's why I always relate the difference between Shem, Ham, and Yafet. Shem is the only son who stayed loyal to the teachings of Noah. That's why the Most High called himself the God of Shem. Right? In Genesis, the 9th chapter. Now, Ham and Yafet, or Ham and Yafet, they took their own understanding of the prophecies that were related to them from Noah, and they ran with it. And that's where you get religion from, right? And even some of the sons of Shem as well. They wanted to adhere to the remembrance of Cush and Nimrod, and also the deification of certain individuals who lived before the flood. That's where you get the Babylonian mystery school system from. Because what Cush and Nimrod did through Ham is they reinvigorated a lot of the knowledge and the belief systems of the people from before the flood. Okay? But all that is for another video. Point being is this: you have to know what religion is. Religion is used to control, but religion does not have as much control now as it had back then. The real control is whoever controls the money system. Okay? That's how they control people. They control you through the money system, and they control you through the television. This notion that religion controls people, religion is nowhere near as powerful now as it was, 40, 50 years ago, much less 400 years ago. So right now, of course, the Vatican still is in control of everything, but the Vatican is in control of everything like the mafia is. They're controlled behind a door. They're not open with it anymore. Okay? But the Vatican works along with the international bankers and so on and so forth. International bankers are the ones who control your thoughts through the television, through the movies. And that's where you get a lot of Luciferian principles pushed on you. T. Santana said, hey, COJ, to me, this video just proves why black women are the worst partners to be with in the world. Betrayal, delusional, and mentally unstable. If anyone wants one, you're welcome to them, please. Take 2 or more, shalom. Big Dick Click, he got upset. He said, nah, stop being a bitch, my nigga. Stop race mixing. Bro, look, I always say this. I don't know why a lot of these people, they get so obsessed or infatuated with what someone else is doing or who someone else is with. Stop worrying about that. Having two so-called black people coming together just for the sake of them coming together, that's not going to help anybody. We have to be more concerned with culture. That's why I stated, when you see this so-called black woman walking down the street with a Caucasian man or a man of another race, leave them alone. They're telling you that they're not fit to be with you. It's okay. T. Santana got mad. He changed his name from Big Dick Click to Little Dick Click. He said, you can take that same advice for yourself. I'm sure that you're... He changed it to Little Dick Click. He said, I'm sure that your family lineage is very much mixed with several races. Do your DNA trace at your own rude awakening. Shalom. Big Dick Click said, I'm a pure African.